For many of us, we'll end April on the wet side, and there's already some interesting features to talk about in the Atlantic for the beginning of May. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi friends, Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We're your home for Caribbean weather. Great to see you on a Monday. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a fantastic weekend. Coming up in this video, the moisture trend continues for the Eastern Caribbean. We've had loads of heavy rain over the weekend and today. We'll look at that. I've got your island by island rainfall forecast, and then we're going to be talking about some larger features in the Atlantic already setting up and how that could influence our weather in the short term. As we get started, Meteo Mundo, sponsored by the lead law firm of Central Florida. They're your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Anything that can impact you or your property, so think hurricane damage or burst pipes or an auto accident. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, offering free consultation and policy reviews. Go to leanonomelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, I want to hear from a Meteo Mundo weather community. Let me know what's been happening in your area. Got some pictures and videos to show you that you guys have sent me from some wet spots over the weekend. Let's get started. This is our visible satellite imagery here. Tell you what I'm going to do on the fly. Let's bring on our live lightning data. If we have it, we got to show it, right? And temperatures are all over the place right now. Some 70s, some 80s, and some 90s and above. That just shows you, again, we've had pockets of very heavy rain, and we've had some areas that have been high and dry. We'll start in the western areas with the most significant rain and then work our way to the east. So we'll begin today in Jamaica, where showers and storms are developing over the island as I record this video. Notice the temperature in Kingston beginning to drop because of this rain and storms that are developing over portions of the island. It's becoming a little bit more widespread. Right now in the Mandeville-Maypend area there, portions of St. Elizabeth towards Manchester parishes, we're getting some lightning strikes getting going. So it's not just some rain, a little bit of lightning to go along with it. Some heavier downpours from time to time as well. Thicker clouds across the island. It's been a relatively cloudy late afternoon on this Monday. And again, the opportunity for some rain for central and southern sides of the islands. That doesn't mean Montego Bay or Ocho Rios couldn't catch a shower, but with these northeasterly winds, we're going to favor the central and the southern sides of the island the remainder of today. Hopefully you get some rain if you need some. My friends in Jamaica, let me know. Have you had a couple of showers or even a rumble of thunder late on this Monday afternoon? You know, you go a little bit farther off to the west and the air is just drier. It's as simple as that. So the Cayman Islands today have been absolutely picture perfect. Again, if you maybe caught a stray shower in the Cayman Islands, let me know, but I haven't really seen much there. Pretty hefty thunderstorms developing on the eastern sides of Cuba. Again, we have this northeast flow. So when I show you these winds, you're going to see all these winds are mainly going to be out of the east or even out of the northeast here. I know up in Caicos here, we have some northeast winds. So that's just driving this moisture in this direction. You can clearly see it on the visible satellite imagery. So that's going to favor some of the coastal sections and areas to the south as the moisture develops. Obviously, the topography of the island you live on does play a factor in that, but enough moisture in play. We've had a few passing showers in the southeast Bahamas, Turks and Caicos for today, but certainly more concentrated in places like Hispaniola, the Dominican Republic especially. We've had really heavy rain the last couple of days over interior sections and higher elevations of the DR. I'm talking about 50 to 75 millimeters or 2 to 3 inches each and every day. We've had numerous all kinds of heavy rain advisories and warnings and flash flood advisories and warnings. Again, south of Santiago de los Caballeros, again, higher elevation, more thunderstorms developing at the hour. And temperatures, again, are just all over the place. There's plenty of moisture, so it just really depends. Are you catching some of these heavier showers? Samana Peninsula started off today, in the 70s. They're at 81 right now. Santo Domingo was up to 88 and 90 degrees, but temperatures have come down a bit as clouds and rain trying to develop over that area. It's been a little bit drier overall the past couple of days on the Haitian side of the island. But again, that doesn't mean there's not the opportunity for some showers to drift over there, but certainly favoring the Dominican Republic for the remainder of today. It's been a very wet forecast the last couple of days for my friends in Puerto Rico and the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. Again, just tapping into this moisture, and there's a very persistent trough right in the Eastern Caribbean. Again, we have low level winds that are out of the northeast, but you have all of this moisture coming out of the southwest. When I show you the infrared satellite imagery, you can clearly see that spinning up and coming to a feature to our north. We'll talk more about that feature coming up in just a second, but right now, it's locally heavy rain from time to time across the island. It's just been cloudy. It's been wet. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s. Look at that. Let me just pause that real quickly. Look at that flare up of lightning there right over the San Juan area a little bit earlier this afternoon. And again, on this visible satellite imagery, look how thick the clouds are here across the island. But of course, I don't have just that. Let me get back to the current time. I've got the live radar here out of Puerto Rico as well. So let's take a look at that. You're going to see a lot of rain on the board for us here. Again, from San Juan, Uti Alto, on towards the Yauco area there, Mayaguez. Again, eastern sides of the Dominican Republic. The lightning data is on there as well. It's just a wet day here, guys, all the way through the U.S. and British Virgin Islands. There will be pockets of rain, Tortola, St. John, St. Thomas, Joseph Van Dyke. Again, temperatures here are only around the lower 80s, 84 there in Christiansted and St. Croix. And Agata's had some passing showers, but you get the idea. It's been wet. It's going to stay wet the next couple of days. And this is where I had a couple of pictures and videos to show you guys from Puerto Rico. Appreciate Rudy from the Humacao area sending in this photo. This was a very common sight across Puerto Rico over the weekend. It was just overcast. It was fairly wet. We had enough heavy rain. We had some urban and small stream flooding from time to time. You know, a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain can do that. And that's what we had across portions of the island. And then Ana Ruiz sends in this video from Trujillo Alto area of Puerto Rico. Same situation again, overcast skies, just the rain coming down, making for a gloomy Monday across the island. And my friends in Puerto Rico, this is going to continue here. Again, you know, some ponding and puddling on the roadways, and you see a little bit of that trailing through some of the lower sections there of her parking lot. Very common sight across a lot of the island. Appreciate both Rudy and Ana Ruiz sending in those photos. If you want to send me a picture or video, easiest way to do it, just like they did, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Include your name, of course, where the picture or video is from. You want to give me a description, I appreciate that. But we could see more wet weather in this area over the next several days. This persistent trough allowing these showers to develop daily. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. On over to my friends in the Lesser Antilles. We'll start up here in the Leeward Islands, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis. My friends in Montserrat, Antigua, Barbuda, again, all with opportunity for rain with temperatures that are in the 80s. What do the winds look like in this area? Let's take a look at that. I'll bring on our surface wind gusts. Nothing outrageous for today. I noted there's a little bit of wind in Puerto Rico, but the winds haven't been crazy. You know, again, with when you have winds going at different directions and different levels of the atmosphere, sometimes the winds at the surface don't necessarily have to be that strong to get a lot of lift in the atmosphere. That's exactly what we're seeing for today. So scattered rain will continue in these areas, and it's the same situation south as well for Guadalupe, Dominica, on over towards Martinique. Again, passing heavier rain from time to time. We've had this over the weekend. In general, the farther south you go into the Windward Islands, the drier you're going to be. It still doesn't mean, you know, that St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines and Grenada and Barbados and TT can't catch a couple of isolated heavier showers, but that's the key word, more isolated than anything right now in these areas. So temperatures have warmed up a bit. Port of Spain, right around 90 degrees Celsius, not Celsius, Fahrenheit for today, right around 32 degrees Celsius. If you guys hit 90 Celsius, no reason to ever do another video again. We just call it a day. All right, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. Some of you guys in the comment section below from the last video talked about how you've had some rain. We've had nice, thick clouds across the area with some passing showers again on this Monday afternoon. When I go back over to the enhanced satellite imagery, again, we're tapping into moisture here, and you notice that this fetch of moisture, if I zoom out, just goes all the way into this large trough in this feature that I'm going to highlight a little bit later in the video. But this consistent stream coming into the Eastern Caribbean is going nowhere anytime soon. And we're also tapping into Pacific moisture. Everything is just gurgling and bubbling up now. We've got these monsoon troughs really beginning to, you know, get going closer to the equator. They're still a little bit farther south than most of our area, but they're beginning to lift up and provide heavy rain for places like Panama and Costa Rica. And, you know, that's going to try and drift a little bit farther north. As I've mentioned, the farther north and west that you go, the drier the air is. All of this red is relatively dry air. So I'm not going to rule out a couple of passing showers and an isolated thunderstorm for portions of Belize and Honduras and the Bay Islands. But when I go back over to our visible satellite imagery here, you can just clearly see it's just a few passing showers, if nothing else. Roatan might have caught a brief shower today. If you live in Roatan, let me know in the comments section below, but it's few and far between. Many dry hours and locations this far north. Same situation for the Cayman Islands, same situation for the rest of the Bahamas for now, but just north of the Northwest Bahamas, a little bit more interesting weather to get into as we get into tomorrow and in our Wednesday. So another thing I want to talk about, and we haven't mentioned this since, what about mid last year, the Saharan dust layer is trying to make a return. Some of you mentioned that, especially in portions of the Lesser Antilles. There will be a bit of a concentration of Saharan dust back, especially towards Trinidad and Tobago here in the coming days. But overall, there's a little bit more concentration trying to get a little bit farther off to the west. When you see those purples, that's a high enough concentration where it'll put some haze in the sky. And again, the Windward Islands, Barbados could be included to see that. So let's get into the forecast, friends. Thanks for liking this video. Appreciate my Meteo Mundo weather community. Thank you for subscribing. Please join us if you want these daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends, and of course, finding ways to support the channel as we get closer to hurricane season. I appreciate all of you guys so much. So, a lot of things to talk about here. We are a little bit more than a month away from hurricane season, right? And almost every year we get a little bit of something to crop up sometime in May. Typically it's very late in the period, but you guys are living and breathing in these areas, and you know that we've just gotten much more active in the past couple of weeks. The moisture content is richer, it's deeper, and there's a couple of interesting things that I want to show you guys here overall of what's going to be happening in the western side of the Atlantic in the coming week or so. So let's go over to the models. I'm going to bring it up to our reflectivity here, but the first thing I'm actually going to show you guys is going to be our overall vorticity. Now, you guys know I love this product because it's a good kind of indication of spin in the atmosphere. It's not necessarily surface-based, it's a composite of the lower levels of the atmosphere, but there are some broad features which won't have direct impacts on our area yet, but will have some indirect impacts, especially continuing this moisture feed up. So again, this is going to be your spin in the atmosphere. And when you see those brighter colors, you see stronger spin. Now, there's a couple of interesting things to talk about. First of all, most of this is mid-level latitude cyclones, right? Coming off of old cold fronts, but you've got some healthy spin up here. Obviously, we're way too cool this far north of the Atlantic to support any kind of tropical storm development. But these mid-level rotations will continue on the southwest side to drag in a lot of moisture. And this is an interesting little mid-level feature here that'll kind of be parking itself about 1,000 miles to the northeast of the Leeward Islands. But it's the same situation as if you've been wet, you're going to stay wet. And Bermuda is in store for some very interesting weather. Now, I'm only going to take this out a week. Obviously, with the GFS model, I could take it all the way out to mid-May, but the model gets a little bit squirrely when you get that far out. It always likes to try and produce and overdo things. So I don't want to just hype something up. But again, early May, interesting features here to discuss. Let's take a look at the surface winds associated with this as well. I'm going to bring up the surface winds, and then we'll get into the rain. So you're looking at now surface-based winds. If we had anything that was trying to wrap up in any way, you would clearly see that on this product. So, but the biggest thing is that you see these purples? It's a big wind field that will continue to just kind of push in northeast winds through the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, into Jamaica, kind of streaming. You kind of notice that streaming into the northwest side here of the Caribbean. I think I mentioned already Puerto Rico and the northern side of the Lesser Antilles as well. And then again, down the road, way out here, right? You've got that one beautiful spin, mid-level, not tropical, too far north. And by the way, I mean, we're way out here almost off of the Portugal coastline. So let me be clear about that. But broad features that will continue to play a factor in how wet it's going to be in our area. That's the first thing, right? Enhancing the tropical moisture. Then, as things start to develop a little bit more down the road, that's one factor in, the first potential disturbance developing. But again, well down the road. But as I look at things through mid-May, a couple of things do pique my interest and raise my eyebrows just a little bit here. And again, I'm only showing you the first week. No reason to hype anything up as of this point in time, but I always look at the extended, especially as we get closer to hurricane season. And you're going to see why. This is our GFS surface-based reflectivity, so it's rain, right? So when I take it out through the first week of May, you're going to clearly see the feature that I mentioned here, but pulling away. Another cold front coming towards Bermuda. Now down the road, that could develop its own mid-latitude spin, which could be a very interesting feature in the Western Atlantic as well. But look at all of this wet weather. And that's the biggest story right now. Let's take this in chunks. What's going to be happening in the short term, right? Because we have a lot more confidence in the short term overall. Look how wet it's going to be for our areas here, central and the eastern sides of the Caribbean. Even moisture will begin to return in earnest late in the week and into next week out west, but it's going to be a more gradual trend, right? So we're going to stay drier in Cancun and Cozumel and Belize City and the Bay Islands. Wet weather over Panama and Costa Rica as well. Still relatively dry in the Bahamas. Now, there will be some subtle changes to bring us a little bit better chance for rain from time to time. And as a matter of fact, what I'm going to do right now, since we're going to get into the island by island forecast, is I'm just going to drop this down to the next couple of days. And you know I always keep a close eye on the extended as well. But you can clearly see that the rain and storms to the north will try and work their way a little bit farther to the south into the northwest Bahamas and central Bahamas tomorrow morning and into the afternoon hours. So for Freeport and Grand Bahama in general, the Abacos, Andros, Nassau, New Providence, Eleuthera, Walker's Key, Cat Island on over towards the Exuma area, San Salvador, all with scattered shower chances. And I expect the same thing for the Acklins area towards Turks and Caicos as well. Look, it's not going to be very concentrated. The moisture content isn't fantastic, but there'll be at least a few passing showers in the forecast. Now, the rain concentration will actually be about the same for the Cayman Islands and Jamaica. So, you know, look, we've had some healthy rain today, but I don't think that we're going to necessarily see that widespread of rain across Jamaica in the coming days. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I think rain chances will actually be a little bit lower here overall. So I hope you catch some rain, my friends in Jamaica, on this Monday afternoon and evening, because there's no guarantee you actually get any in the next few days, but we will stay with the northeast wind. Now, areas with continued high rain chances. The Dominican Republic, again, 2 to 3 inches or 50 to 75 millimeters in isolated locations each and every day is not out of the question over the next 3 days, mainly favoring interior, higher, terrain locations, right? Higher elevation locations, but northeast coastline, Puerto Plata to Punta Cana, could certainly see pockets of heavier rain as well. Clouds will keep temperatures relatively on the cooler side. It's going to be wet again. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Look, I've got a 60% chance for rain basically every day, and in some spots a 70% chance as we head towards Thursday. So we continue with the wet weather, rounds of rain, some breezy conditions from time to time, some elevated surf and sea conditions. This is just a very active forecast in these areas. Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's, Barbuda, Antigua, Saba, St. Eustatius, St. Kitts and Nevis, scattered rain here. Rainfall totals may again not be exceptional, but there will be pockets of heavier rain. Very isolated, still dry hours and locations. I'm not changing any outdoor plans with this, but I'm just prepared for what's going to be some wet weather, and hopefully it's beneficial to you guys, because that's what you're going to get. Folks who are drier, probably very jealous of what they're seeing on this map here, all of this green. Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique, those are the areas that will stay wet, with more scattered to isolated rain the farthest south that we get. Again, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Nueva Esparta, TNT, all with opportunities for showers, but just not as much. Simple as that. Rain chances will be relatively lower there. ABC Islands, again, I'm really hoping I didn't go crazy high with the rain here in the ABC Islands because we literally have to pull this moisture right over these islands. And sometimes that can be a very fickle thing because sometimes this moisture plume is west, sometimes it's east, but I really hope this GFS model is right on and we have at least another good healthy wave of rain coming into those areas late tomorrow and in our Wednesday. Going to stay wet for Panama and Costa Rica. Could be some very heavy rain and some flooding issues there as well. And again, as I mentioned, northwest areas, generally speaking, we're going to stay drier in the short term. So this is what your rain chance looks like island by island. We'll start off with the Northwest Bahamas. Again, slightly better chance for rain tomorrow, moving in at a 30% chance. Wednesday, Thursday, it's a 20, so we're drying out. Central and Southeast Bahamas, 40% chance tomorrow, drier Wednesday, Thursday. Decent rain chances, Turks and Caicos over the next few days. Scattered rain in Cuba favoring the southeast side of the island. Those are the better rain chances on Cuba for the next few days. Not a lot of rain for the Cayman Islands. Again, a passing shower at best. Belize City, a few showers over the next couple days, just a 20% chance on Thursday. And again, looking great and dry Cancun and Cozumel. As I've mentioned, I'm not overly excited about the rain chance in Jamaica, believe it or not, despite the fact what we're seeing right now. I've got a 30% chance in Tuesday through Thursday. Here come your hefty totals. The Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, 60% chance Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Even higher in the U.S. and British Virgin Islands at a 70% clip on Wednesday, Thursday. Relatively dry in Bermuda the next couple days. Small crafted warnings, I believe, are in effect. Will go into effect. Obviously, check in with local officials, but we're going to have some rougher sea conditions there. Anguillos, building rain chance up to a 70% chance on Thursday. St. Kitts and Nevis, a 50 to 60% chance. Rain chances will continue to get higher and higher. For Antigua, Bermuda, Montserrat, right on through Thursday. Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique in that bullseye as well. You should expect a solid chance for rain in these areas each and every afternoon. And again, a little bit lower St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Doesn't mean we won't have some, important rain, some rain that can have some impacts, but it'll just be more widely scattered. Barbados, a 30% chance for showers through Thursday. Grenada, slightly higher tomorrow, than back to that 30% chance themselves. Building rain chances in TNT, especially during the evening and the overnight hours, still favoring Trinidad. Suriname, Guyana, healthy showers and a few storms there. And again, Nueva Esparta, some. As I mentioned, I don't have a lot of rain in the ABC Islands, but that doesn't mean that we just don't get that perfect moisture fetch right over the island and we catch better rain chances than what I have. That certainly is a possibility. By the way, these fronts coming off the U.S. East Coast still will continue to kick up surf and sea conditions, especially on the eastern sides of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos as well. Still looking relatively good in the Caribbean. No huge marine concerns there over the next couple of days. Windward sections of the Lesser Antilles and the Greater Antilles will have the worst as far as that goes. But overall, we're looking pretty good for the boaters over the next 3 to 5 days. Now, rainfall totals on the European model. Again, you've got a couple of spots that are quite high, but look at the features again, just to the north and to the east of the Lesser Antilles, promoting a lot of rain, and watch how we really start to build in some darker maroons here. It's, again, a good indication that we're beginning to juice up areas just north of the equator, and some of that is beginning to lift north with those monsoon troughs. We're still somewhat dry in our northwest areas, and again, pockets of some heavier rain. Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Virgin Islands, portions of the Lesser Antilles, all included in that. That was the European model. This is the GFS model. Again, same situation. We're looking at how much rain could fall in your area over the next 5 days. Again, several inches of rain, and it's a very easy conversion for millimeters. Every inch of rain is 25 millimeters, so we get an inch of rain, we've got 25 millimeters of rain. Once again, the GFS model with this northeast wind believes that the northeast side of the island overall will get better rain chances. I think in the next day or two, it's central and southeast. But if we turn a little bit more of a due east wind, it would be the east coast of the island with a slightly better chance. But let's get everyone a little bit of rain here. That would be good news. But it's still going to be scattered at best. There's that rain over the eastern side of Cuba, and it's absolutely held true for today as well. Now look at some of the heavy totals here between Puerto Plata and the Samana Peninsula. And there is certainly an argument that the model is underdoing the amount of rain that we could see. But you've got a ton of widespread 3-4 inch totals, 75 to 100 millimeters, okay? Again, lower Santo Domingo, lower Punta Cana right now, favoring interior sections at higher elevations. Not as much rain over on the Haitian side of the island. Just a nice, solid bullseye. Look at some of the, Guamo, Cayey, Humacao, where Rudy sent us that photo from, Utialto, San Juan, Fajardo, Carolina. I mean, 3-4 plus more inches of rain in the next 5 days. So averaging an inch a day, that's going to cause some problems, at least urban and small stream flooding. Hopefully no more than that. Obviously, check in with the NWS office, and I'll keep you guys updated as well. But you always check in with the local officials for the, up-to-date, like timely, warnings, right? Those are the biggest things that happen in a very short order. More than an inch of rain possible over portions of the Virgin Islands as well. Not as much rain expected here, but we'll have that opportunity. As I mentioned again, here in the Leeward Islands, I don't expect there to be as much rain, maybe up to an inch in a couple of spots. And there will be pockets of heavier rain that could drift over Guadeloupe, Dominica, Martinique. I mentioned those as being bullseye spots. And then farther south, you just simply get drier. Once again, we could absolutely have a heavier downpour in the Windward Islands, but generally speaking, not as much. Now again, for the ABC Islands, let us hope we get one more round of rain in here. That would be great news. That's what it looks like. Let's say a quarter to a half inch in most areas. And again, in the Bahamas and areas up here, if we catch a couple of showers, the totals themselves aren't going to be fairly significant. Relatively dry overall. One more big broad view again, you can clearly see, if I just move this over here a little bit more, that's a heck of a lot of moisture this far north in latitude this time of the year. And how this sits and feeds into this, pulling all of that moisture over some of the islands I mentioned, is a persistent thing that will continue to have significant impacts in the coming days. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Follow us across social media, Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook. Just like I mentioned earlier, send me a picture or video, myMediaMundo@gmail.com. Love to hear from you guys. You got a specific question, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you again for liking and subscribing. And as always, Media Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, anything that can impact you, like a car accident or your home, like hurricane damage. They walk you through every step of the insurance claim process, offering free consultation and policy reviews. The website is leanonmelaw.com. Friends, I appreciate you guys. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday. I'm back soon with what's going to be a very interesting forecast as we push into the beginning of May, right here at Media Mundo.